dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a motherfucking smack addict. Bye. In the menudo style in a direct fashion, we're going to get straight into the content of the day. But before we do, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Ding. Man, put your notification bells on all, so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content I'm kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support, man. We're going up on this channel, and it's all because of you. And for that, I can say I'm very humbled, and I'm very much so appreciative. Thank you very much. Excuse that I haven't shaved. It's my birthday weekend. I'm going to be going out, killing some guts and all kinds of shit, right? So, you know, I know what I'm doing here. I may look like a shag today, but I'll be whipped up tomorrow. So dispensa. Now, I wanted to talk about Big Tone, man, because the Yak life got him like this. Respects, first and foremost, to Big Tone, man. Respects to his movement and what he pushes, man. He's a real one. He's definitely a real one. And a lot of people were in my live yesterday. Man, did you hear Big Tone pulled up to No Jumper? Did you hear Big Tone pulled up to No Jumper? And I figured he would. I figured he would, and I figured he'd do it after everyone else did their thing, man. Because not only is he one of those guys that has common courtesy for others, he's also a very well-educated and smart individual, right? We're talking about the type of dude who doesn't do things without knowing what part of the game, you know, is going on. What's going on there. And very educated in his plight and doing his thing. And so, of course, he pulls up to No Jumper, man. He's got the new podcast popping with AWAX. I seen AWAX was there as well, man. Shout out to him and respects for what they got going on. I like their new podcast. That shit is popping, right? They're bringing on good talent. And just giving it to you from a northern perspective. Got to respect it. You either respect it or disrespect it. But it is going to be what it's going to be, no matter what. No one could stop him. So, Big Tone pulls up to No Jumper. They haven't quite released the interview yet, but like Adam does, he teases, you know, he throws it out there. And of course, it caused a lot of confusion, conflict, distaste for some, and some that are actually looking forward to it. This is one of the interviews ever on No Jumper that I'm actually going to sit down and watch in its entirety. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it because I want to see how Big Tone carries himself and just the game and the jewels he's going to drop. You know, now there's a difference with Lazy Boy, Bands, Big Tone, and several other Northern California rappers. You know, up until this point, man, besides Gold Toes, respects to Toes, right? There hasn't really been someone of Big Tone's caliber when it comes to the Northern plight on No Jumper. Respects to Lazy Boy the Sanho, man, but quietly has kept, besides those in San Jose and those in Northern California, no one had really heard of him. I did, man, just based on, you know, he's the talk of the town out there in Northern California. He's up and coming, you know, as a rapper. But I was even confused on how Adam knew about Lazy Boy or how he was able to get in touch with him to be the first Norteño that he actually brought to his podcast. I thought for sure, man, it would be someone else. But of course, man, in typical fashion, the youngsters are always the first one to go out there and pop their collar and do their thing. And I'm sure Big Tone watched it, see the way it was presented, and kind of peeped it out, right? Now, Bands went on there, and Bands is typical Bay. Bands reminded me, as a Northern California representative, he reminded me of someone who just don't give a fuck, man. He's going to be himself no matter what. He didn't sugarcoat shit for no one. No added preservatives did him. And that's a Norteño right there. That's what they do, man. They pop their collars. They do their thing. And I know a lot of people like to say, well, they act like they're black, right? Isn't everybody? You know, let's just keep it real. Bands acted like Bands does, man. He's a very talented rapper. He did his thing. I respected his get down, man. He spoke his mind and said what he felt he had to say. And of course, you know, Adam was able to get some sound bites out of him and to instigate some bullshit, some drama. And it kept the fucking ball rolling. Now with Big Tone, I don't think Adam 22 is going to be able to do that. You see, he comes from a different era. He comes from the era of when Norteños were really gangbanging, man. It was really vicious and violent. People were getting incarcerated constantly. The dope game was heavy. The presence of the Norteño movement was heavy in the streets. There was a lot of the programming that was going on in the California prison system being dictated out to the streets. Vatos were barely catching on. You know, and Tone, coming from the Antioch area, man, was really with the activities, really with that gangbanging shit. So he's always been respected from that area and respected throughout Northern California. And he has his haters. just like anyone else, man. He has his haters. I did a video earlier and I talked about it. People that hate on him because he hasn't been incarcerated or they feel he hasn't put in the work. Well, he's not the type of individual that will boast and brag on the work that he's put in. And putting in work doesn't necessarily make you a man. It makes you a man that's taking penitentiary chances. Definitely. It makes you a man that, basically is saying that, you're fighting for a cause that might not necessarily be fighting for you. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could look at it. But in my eyes, Big Tone carries himself the true way a norteño should. He looks, he speaks, he takes care of his well-being, his mentality. He is what a norteño, the image of a norteño is supposed to be. Straight up. Someone who's outspoken, someone who pays attention to their own business and doesn't get involved in other people's business. And someone, man, still heavily in the game, just pushing that northern light. Can't knock it, right? So sitting down with Adam boggles my mind for Big Tone for one or two reasons. One, I always tripped on these guys, north and south, raza period, even the brothers, man, that sit down with Adam and kind of shine on the allegations that Adam once had. Now, whether they're true or not, whether they were just allegations, women do say some crazy things, right? There were some heavy allegations against Adam in the past. And I'm not going to speak or elaborate upon those, man. You could Google it and look into it. But there were some chomo allegations that just didn't sit right with a lot of people, right? Now, of course, Adam didn't bite the bullet or fight the feeling. He said what he said. He justified it how he justified it, and he kept it pushing. And because he has one of the biggest presence on the West Coast when it comes to podcasting, I guess people don't give a shit. I guess they're able to pick and choose and say, you know what, fuck it, man. There's no paperwork. He wasn't convicted. It's that rah, blah, 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 blah shit again, man. He wasn't convicted of it, so he must be innocent. Again, man, that's like having a homie. You hear some weird shit about him. You're going to keep your distance. Whether he's innocent or not, it's like, hey, bro, I can't fuck with that. I'm good. But it is what it is, right? It doesn't necessarily make Adam a bad guy or a bad person, but it makes him a person in question. And you would think, guys that are really out there functioning at a high level or really involved in some politics and some gang shit would steer away from the guy just because the allegations were even brought up. I've had homeboys locked up in the county jail, man, that were on ice, on freeze for things that I knew that they weren't involved in. And still, man, I couldn't fuck with them. And still, I chose not to fuck with them because it was my career in jeopardy over them. And man, no man is going to put himself in jeopardy over the next man. It's all about safety and security for oneself. That's the way you got to proceed as a gang member, man. It's always about you and yours, right? Over everything. Now, Big Tone sitting down with this dude, that's his own prerogative. He could do what he wants to do, like a Bobby Brown song. But at the same time, man, I think Tone brings some validity to the No Jumper podcast as far as the norteños. Out of all the guys that have been on there, man, even Gold Toes, I respect Tone like a motherfucker. I had a conversation with an OG norteño a while back, man. I can't speak on his name because he's still in the mix, but I can tell you this. He said, man, do you think Big Tone would ever go on a podcast like No Jumper? And I said, to be totally honest with you, I didn't see it happening. And the reason I didn't see it happening is because Tone comes from that era where quietly as it's kept, it was kept that way, right? I just couldn't see him doing that. But times have changed. It's air and opportunity, and everybody wants to air their opportunities. I ain't mad at him for getting a bag. I ain't mad at none of the norteños for finally taking the muzzle off and being able to voice their opinions. It's been a long time coming, man. It's been a long time coming, and I hope truly that Adam asks the right questions. Not the questions about lefty gunplay, and not the questions about Lazy Boy, and not the questions about the drama, but the true questions everybody wants to hear. Like how Tone got affiliated, with this music. How his interactions and his friendship with Woody, man, led him down a path to be musically inclined and to make it happen. How it was back then, man, for norteño rappers coming up that didn't get to play at big venues, that didn't get looked upon or looked at as great rappers, how it was. Things like that. These are the questions that I would ask Tone because these are the questions I think people are thirsty for and want to know about. Not necessarily the drama. I know drama sells. I know people want to know his interactions with Lazy Boy and does he fuck with him tough and how he feels about the whole lefty gunplay, saying that norteños can't pull up to No Jumper and all that. But quietly as it's kept, man, that's not what true fans of Big Tone want to hear. We want to hear more so about his life, where his life has taken him, you know, since the early days when he was functioning out there and rocking with Woody. Now, for those of you that don't know who Big Tone is, he's been around since the days of Woody the rapper, the Norteño rapper, the legendary Norteño rapper, right? You see his album right there, Woody. He's always represented in this household because I fuck with his music tough, and I fucked with him as a person even tougher, right? And his philosophies in the game that he gave. And I do the same thing with Big Tone. If you notice, I've never had any ill will or any bad thing to say about Big Tone, period. You can watch my channel from top to bottom. I've always respected his get down because I respect him as a man more than I do as a soldado, right? As a soldier for the cause, I know he's doing what he has to do. But as a man, I respect him even more because he carries himself like he should. You know, he's constantly giving Klecha game and positivity vibes out to the homies. And that's what they need. They need a homeboy that's going to represent well and at the same time is with the business, man. You know, myself, I was always around homeboys and there was always a flaw. There was always something going on with them. Whether it be they were in the spoon or they were dope fiends or they were fucking sneaky or greedy. There was always something, and they had game. They had Klecha. They've been locked up. They could give you all that fucking good education as a Norteño to strive. But at the end, you were getting gamed up from someone who didn't have the game proper themselves. With Big Tone, I don't see that. I see him through and through as someone who's gamed up and knows what it is. But he sat down with Adam, right? And how Adam is able to wiggle into the DMs of these Norteños, he must have some connections, you know, at a high level. You know, I can't knock it. I can't knock his hustle. I understand people want to see him. And as a man, he's able to basically, you know, podcast and interview anyone he wants to. But is it truly an interview or an interrogation is the true question, you know? It seems like nowadays with Adam 22, man, it's more so an interrogation rather than an interview. You know, back in the days, he would interview rappers about their next album coming out, what they got on the horizon, their past, you know, how they got in the game. And now it's more so about drama and things that they've been involved in, unsolved crimes and things of that nature. Well played, Adam. Well played. In the words of Adam 16, right? That's just what he does. But I truly hope and I feel that Big Tone carried himself in that interview with professionalism and all that. Now let's get to the elephant in the room. Lefty Gunplay, right? And how he would feel about someone the caliber of Big Tone pulling up. Well, I'm sure Lefty doesn't give a fuck, man, or even know the history about Big Tone. And there's no reason he should. He's never listened to his music. Is not really concerned with him. All he knows is he's the enemy. And see, that's crazy to think like that. And let me tell you about how that mentality is, because I lived that life for a long time. There was Vatos from LA, Vatos from the IE, Vatos from San Diego, Vatos from Southern California, Bakersfield on back, period, that I hated with the passion for no other reason than they were from past that line in Bakersfield. Didn't know them personally, didn't care to know them personally. Wouldn't have rocked with them on any level, man, because I was under the assumption they hated me. Then when I realized them Vatos weren't even concerned with what I had going on or knew I existed, I was giving them too much of my time and my energy. Too much thinking about what they thought about me when they didn't even think about me at all. And it wasn't until I was incarcerated as a youngster in Fred C. Nellis in Whittier, on Whittier Boulevard, man, in Southern California, that I really got in touch with reality of what a Sureño and a Southsider really was. I really got to function hand in hand with them, conversate, learn their history, and become interested in their history from a standpoint that you got to know your enemies. You got to keep them close, right? And then somewhere along the line, I started to realize they weren't much different from me. Same type of mentality, same type of fucking movement, same type of vibe, man. We were doing our thing. We were fighting for what we had and what we were proud of. And that was our hometown, our cause, the raza. You know, whether it was Southern or Northern, that's what it was. And people like Tone, man, come from that same stock. They come cut from that same cloth, come from that same game plan, man, of a Norteño movement to secure our strongholds, to secure our homelands, right? That's what we were always indoctrinated with. I remember back in the days, secure our homelands. Where somewhere along the line, something got unsecured because the Southsiders were able to come in and, you know, plant their flags and start doing what they do. You know, and it's always been a struggle and it's always been a fight to maintain the homelands properly when you have the enemy living in your backyard. You know, I've always understood that. We grew up like that. We grew up with the North and South issues. See, Southsiders never grew up like that. One's from down south, They grew up with blue on blue, south on south, barrio on barrio warfare. They never grew up with north and south. So now to see it happening and unfolding in front of my eyes, when so many different things are happening behind the walls within the CDC system, when there's peace and end the hostilities there, yet on the streets it's heating up worse than it has ever been all over rap music and podcasting. I say to these guys that are going on this No Jumper podcast and several other podcasts, heed the word and watch what you say, because any little thing can be misconstrued and taken out of context on social media and stir the pot. And especially when you have an instigator and a pot stirrer like Adam 16, who constantly is in he's fishing, okay? He's fishing to catch him a guppy. He wants someone to say something bad about the other side because it's good for his business, right? Straight up. But I'm going to sit down just like the rest of you guys and see what Big Tone has to say. And I think Lefty Gunplay, not knowing who Big Tone is, I don't see how he could feel some type of way about it. I know he feels some type of way about Norteños pulling up to No Jumper. He feels disrespected. He feels because these vatos have disrespected him and he's the biggest thing popping in LA right now, that he should get more respect on his name, that these vatos should respect him. But just like he doesn't know these guys, they don't know him, and they could give a fuck less. You know, when it comes to the Northern cause, they could give a fuck less about what anyone else thinks about them. They're going to proceed in a proper fashion and with their proper channels in tow. That's just what it is. And the Southsiders feel the exact same way. They could care less about a Norteño. Like I said, they never grew up around them, never even seen them half the time. So why do they care? So to see people like Lefty Gunplay feel some type of way about Norteños pulling up to No Jumper, especially vatos like Big Tone or Rico Too Smooth, man, why? What does it do for you? It does nothing for you, man. And I hope that he's able to figure that out and just make his money, because he deserves the accolades from which he's putting in the work, right? I want to watch. I'm very interested in this Big Tone interview. Very interested. I want to see if Adam tries to play him out of pocket. You know, Tone's not the one. You know, everything I've been told about Tone and the way he carries himself now is he's just trying to get right with himself. He's just living his life, man, taking care of his loved ones. And that's all you can ask. But he's definitely well known in the game in Northern California. I know in Southern California, vatos are like, who the fuck is that? But definitely in Northern California, he's a factor in the rap game and on the streets. So it's going to be good to finally see someone that I recognize on there speak his piece, man, and maybe give some clecha and some education into what it is to be a Norteño, into what it is to be an entrepreneur and a rapper, and what it is to be a man, right? You know, with Rico Too Smooth, that was a great interview. He carried himself well, but you could see he's still young. He's still young and trying to get that bag and come up in the game. Then you have, of course, Bands, who's also a youngster in the game, man, just trying to make his power moves, wearing shower shoes, pull hose and strippers, wearing Gucci slippers, and letting his antennas flow, right? And of course, with Lazy Boy, he was the youngest of them all. And of course, man, he is one of those guys that could be baited into hostile argument. He could be very argumentative when it comes to, you know, spitting his truth and his facts. And of course, that's where it all stems from, this beef with North and South. It started there as far as this new shit going on in the rap beef, right? All because he felt some type of way about Lefty, and Lefty definitely felt some type of way about him. And then all it did was involve other people like Little Weirdo, of course, what is it? Chichi Blue. don't do him like that, Gun, right? I can't do him like that. Chichi Blue, Nipple Blue, right? We'll call him Nipple Blue. And then, of course, other rappers that got involved. And then same thing on the northern side, right? Great interview Adam did with Rico. Not because he did it, but because of the way Rico answered the questions. You know, now he's starting to get deeper and entrenched into the Norteño movement. He's starting to realize, man, just how Northerners rock and move. Big Tone is a perfect example of what it really is, right? So we'll see if Adam tries to interrogate him and play him out of pocket. Look, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I've been asked many a times, and you know, would you ever go on No Jumper, Gunner, if you were invited? Fuck no. Here's the reason. I like to be free. I like steak, carne asada, and mamons, right? So there's no way that I want to take a chance, even a slight chance, man, of going on there and getting interrogated about anything and slipping and saying the wrong thing and getting caught up, right? Do I think Adam's a Fed plant? Do I think he's a cop? No, but I think he's working for some people, right? So I just definitely don't want nothing to do with that. And of course, they would even invite me. I'm sure Adam doesn't like me at all, but that's his thing, right? I'm doing my thing. And my thing is, I just hope everyone does exactly what they intend to do when they go down there and do it. And we'll see how it all plays out. You know, Big Tone is a big name to be going on No Jumper. And how do I feel about it? Congratulations, man. Congratulations to the Norteños making noise. Congratulations to the real Southerners that are down there, man, that are showing embracement and canalismo and recognizing, man, that, you know, as raza, we are all the same damn thing. You know, there's going to be those that gangbang on both sides that have something to say and feel a certain way about it. And here's all I can say. Well, do something about it. If you feel a certain way about it, then do something about it. You know, if not, hey, money isn't funny. It's all the same color, man. And everyone's trying to get it. At the end of the day, gangbanging, all that shit, rapping, it all ends with the dollar bill, y'all. Cash rules everything around me. It's all about money. That's what these guys are trying to do. How can you knock a man's hustle? How can you sit there as a man and say, I'm not a hater, man. I don't give a fuck. Get yours, right? And then be mad because someone pulls up to a podcast trying to get their money. It just is rather redundant and rather stupid to constantly spit that type of verbiage. I believe Lefty should get his money. Big Tone should get his money. They all should. With that being said, man, that's just how I feel. You know, I was asked, and there's nothing really more I can say about it until the interview pops up, man, and I watch it with you and let you know exactly what it is. I think it's a great thing, man. Finally, a factor, not an actor in the game has made his presence been felt, man. Big Tone, it's a long time coming. Did I think it would ever happen? Charlie, man, did it? It sure did. With that being said, I hope that you move with a purpose. Get everything that you want coming. And remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the strive, the struggle, the struggle, the strive. I'm going to continue to spit what I spit and be as real as I can be, man. These questions that I get asked, I answer them because I'm asked the questions. Does it really hurt my pockets, or do I care if Big Tone is on No Jumper? I don't. From the aspect of a brown man, I'm glad that finally the Norteños are making noise, and I'm glad that finally, man, the brown man is being recognized on every level. But is it going to hurt me one way or the other? No, you know, but I respect Tone, though, and that's a fact. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I honestly and truly believe in, and that's two things in life, man, my family and those around me. Cash rules everything around me. Crane, the gun.